Hello and welcome to French Air Trumpet. I'm Andy from AJ in France, and we've got Colin from French Countryside Live. And normally once a week, but last week we didn't do it because we'll find out why. We come together and talk about stuff that we just find interesting. Sometimes it's got a French slant to it, and sometimes it's just what we want to talk about. But this week is definitely French because we are looking at what your money can buy you in different areas of France. Now, this is going to be tricky because we do this as a kind of half YouTube, half podcast style show. So nothing's visual. So if you want to listen to it while you're doing your ironing or whatever you do, then that's fine. So we're going to see how this goes.
It's going to be the theatre of the mind. We'll use our immense vocabulary to describe the things that we say.
Isn't it? Anyway.
Do our best anyway.
So a couple of things just before we start. So Colin, you got hold of that book I recommended, Chris Voss, Never Split the Difference. Is that right?
Just brilliant. So yeah, we talked about that last episode. Sorry, I'm just having a moment with the screen there. Yeah, talked about that the last episode, and it's a book by Chris Voss called Never Split the Difference. And Chris Voss was an FBI negotiator and went into private practice teaching negotiation to big American Wall Street business and so on and so forth. And he wrote a book a few years ago and just explaining these techniques. And it's just amazing. And previous to this recording, I was talking to Andy and I thought I'm going to slip one in and see if he notices. Not the first time I said that. And yeah, so and I did, and Andy didn't notice, and it's just an amazing technique just to manage the way that people think.
I think it's designed so you can elicit as much information from the person you're talking to without giving away any personal or any other information from your side.
Yeah.
In negotiation, that's crucial. So, you can get people to tell you everything, what's behind what the decision you're making, why you're making the decision, etc., without you giving any information away. But it also translates quite well to normal life, If you want to buy a car or a boat or whatever you want to buy, it's quite good.
Yeah, any form of negotiation, be it to buy something or just to get some information that you need to put you in a better position, and it's got the potential to be life transforming, to be honest. And the fact that we're going to be talking about property,
in
this episode, I would 100% recommend that you get this book, Chris Voss, Never Split the Difference.
Absolutely.
Before you enter any negotiation for anything.
For sure. I mean, it's quite interesting because I didn't use some of the techniques. That's the wrong way of phrasing it, but it's just the way you approach things and you look at things slightly differently. So when I bought my house that I'm doing up, you can elicit information from the person without giving much information away. And so you learn that maybe the person who's selling the house needs to sell quick, or there's another reason behind the sale or something like that. And you're not trying to do anyone out of anything. You're not trying to con anyone. I think that's the most important thing. It's just talking to someone and then receiving more information you give out. I think that's probably the best way of saying it.
So before we move on to the subject of
what you can get
this week's French ear trumpet. A couple of things I just want to talk about briefly. First one, we went shopping this afternoon. Have you seen the price of olive oil?
Right, I'm going to tell you something now.
Now, before you tell me that, are there any less olive trees in the world?
Right.
Is there any less olive oil in the world? It's a small bottle of olive oil is about a £5. A litre bottle, 14, 15 euros of decent olive oil. That makes no sense because, as I say, I'm sure there's the same amount of olives in the world. So someone's making a lot of money, and it ain't me.
Right. So my other half, her father is an olive farmer in southern
Really? Okay.
Spain.
I didn't know that. Gonna get the inside gen here, people.
Yeah, and
Bring it to you from the streets.
there's no real difference in the harvests whatsoever at the moment, currently. So she's just turned up 2 days ago with a 5-litre bottle of original, unaltered olive oil from southern Spain.
Oh,
So that'll be
all lovely and peppery, isn't it? Oh, how lovely. There's some bread in it.
It tastes completely different to what you get in the shops. It's nowhere, nothing, not even slightly.
I know what you mean, yeah.
But yeah, there's no real particular difference in weathers, temperatures, etc. that will affect their harvest. They're still producing the same. So
yeah, like I say, we're getting tucked up again.
probably.
So second thing that I just wanted to raise was about comments. Now, there's been a few people that have complained about comments being taken off and and comments being blocked censored. Or refused. Yeah, censored. Yeah, but
cancel. That's it. Cancel.
Yeah, cancel. We don't cancel.
No.
We don't cancel anything. Do not cancel anything. We'll answer any comment. YouTube has its own set of rules, I'm sure, and the algorithm will take off anything that it deems to be unsuitable. But it's got nothing to do with us.
No, you can put anything you want in the comments. It's not we're not going to remove it, no matter what.
No, there was a comment from David Malloy, who said that he had told a story about 1950s Paris, I believe, and the comment got removed, but it certainly wasn't by us.
Oh, that's a shame because I'd like to read that.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, me too.
No, it's not us. We won't remove anything, but we like. It's no problem. We're all grown-ups.
Well, one of us is.
That's you, is it? I know, I'm not sure.
So
let's get into it, shall we?
Let's get into the thick of it.
So how would you explain this episode then?
Okay, so if I had 100,000 euros knocking about
again,
and I thought, you know what, I want to buy an house in France, where would I look? What would I expect to get? What would be the best areas to look in? Why would I be looking in those areas? What to look out for? What avenues to look for those houses in?
Yeah.
All of the above.
Right. Good. That's a good explanation, I guess. We'll probably cover most of that. So what we did, the brief, I guess, for this episode was, because we live in two separate areas of France, I was going to have a look at what's available sort of north of the halfway line, and you were going to look pretty much south.
Yeah.
See what you can get for roughly 100,000 euros, give or take, whatever. But just to see. But I guess the first question is, where do you look? If you want to buy a house in France, secondary or primary, where do you look? It's easier nowadays because of the internet, but where did you find, and because you've actually sold one as well in France as well, because that's quite interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So where did you find that original house, estate agent wise, and where did you sell it, estate agent wise?
Right. So, as I'm sure most people that watch this channel would be Francophiles, I suppose. Probably a
I guess.
fairly safe bet. Yeah. They would be aware of the two main players when it comes to property in France, that being Leggetts and Beauvillage.
Townhouse, yeah.
Beauvillage are also affiliated to Savills, which is a high-end property property agent. So Beauvillage will be able to get your chateau right down to your barn. Yeah, so those are the two main players. When it comes to the local agents, obviously you would only really benefit from those if you was actually physically in the area.
Right. So this is a question. Is it cheaper to buy from one of these worldwide accessible agents, or go look around houses and pick a local estate agent? Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah. To be honest with you, I'm not sure. I don't know. What's your experience?
I guess I don't think there's much difference. And the reason I say that is a couple of the English-speaking larger, like Leggetts and whatever, estate agents, when I've spoken to them, they sell probably more to French people than they do to English.
Right. That's
Or
interesting.
American.
Yeah.
So that would be like saying, is it cheaper to buy from, I don't know, Foxtons, or I don't know, whatever, to Halifax, or whatever the other English estate agents are. There's no real difference in price. They don't hike it up because you might be foreigners, if that's a concern for people. I can't see that, and what I've spoken to the estate agents, I don't think that happens.
Yeah. So the only thing to be aware of is the agent's fees.
Yes.
So the Leggetts fees are between 10 and 13%. Similar with Beauvillage, but keep in mind that the agent's fees, going back to Chris Voss here, the agent's fees are negotiable.
Yes, that's true. They are negotiable.
So so you can easily save it. Say on a €100,000 house, you can easily save yourself for 3 or 4%, which doesn't sound a lot, but it's better 4 or 5 grand in your pocket than in theirs.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because people don't realise that and I don't really want to do estate agents out of their money, because they do actually have, I wouldn't say difficult, but it's a time-consuming job, because not only do they have to make sure everything is correct within the law, like electrical certificates and all that, if necessary, gas certificates and all that sort of stuff. They have to make sure that's all in place. They have to come out several times, like loads of times, and the properties stay on the market a lot longer than you do in other countries. And they could stay on the books for a long time and do many visits, which costs them money. But not only that, once you buy, or you put in the offer, you buy it, after that they have to support you for a year. I actually did I think we
did talk about that.
We did talk about that.
Yeah, we did talk about that.
So
normally, in the words of Michael Caine, not many people know that.
No. So I'll give you an example of that, just a real world one. When I bought the house, the second house, we went to the estate agents, and went to the notaires, and because the estate agent was bilingual, I didn't have to have a translator as well. So that worked out really well. And then I went back to the house that night. So it must have been about 6 o'clock at night, 7 o'clock, and it was quite dark. And I went in and she texted me on the phone and said, I don't think the water's connected. I'm really sorry. I will get it connected tomorrow for you. And I was like, don't worry about that. I can sort that out myself.
There's a river down the road, isn't there?
No, but I mean, to connect or disconnect the water in France is it's not a big deal. Just go out in the street and turn it on. It's not.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no. So I did that, and yeah, everything was fine. So, but the responsibility is there, and if you contact them and say, look, the previous owners left a load of stuff in the loft, then they will contact them and get it sorted and get it all moved out. That's a good example. Or the boiler doesn't work and it said it worked in the details. They'll contact them and get it sorted. So they do actually a lot for their money if you use it. But of course, they don't really want to do that. They just want an easy sale and then they just sit back and that's fine. So it depends on the quality of your agent. So mine was really good.
I was just going to say, yeah, when we sold the property up in the Pays de Loire, we had a brilliant agent who sadly passed away shortly afterwards. But he told us everything that we needed to prepare for the viewings, and he had screened all the potential buyers, and got all the financials in place for them. So anyone that came to look at the house was a serious buyer.
Yeah, brilliant. So
it was very, very good, and we sold the house in 7 weeks, which was because of the agent and because the house was completely decorated and was
you've done a lot to it.
Top banana.
So yeah, they do earn the money. Anyway, so let's have a look, I guess, what you can get for your money.
Yeah, sorry, just to answer your question, the other part of that question was that you asked me was that
of course.
Was that I bought the house, or we bought the house, I should say, up in. So I don't watch this anyway.
So Mike, watch this one.
Yeah, it is. We bought the place up in Normandy, Pays de Loire, because it was a place that was drivable to. So it was, we could leave where we lived just outside London and drive to the house in 3/4 of a day, and that was fine. Jane did want to look at Brittany, but when you look at where we live, to go through the Channel Tunnel and then go back all the way around to Brittany was such a long way. Anyway, and then after we'd had that as a holiday home for years and years, we came out to live. We then decided that if we're going to live in France, we might as well live in the sun. So we came down to Charente, and I want my money back because it's rained for the past 7 months. So
mate, it's rained everywhere for about 7 months.
Madness.
I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, I took Charlie to the dog park again this afternoon. This morning, and I was talking to the lady that runs that, and she said the grass just hasn't stopped growing all year. She said normally the grass, dies right back and is brittle and brown stalks. She says this year, it's just not stopped growing all year.
Crazy, isn't it? Well, it's obviously, I don't know, just nuts, absolutely nuts. Anyway, getting back to it.
Sorry, go on.
So,
what can you get for 100,000?
Yeah, it's a good question.
You can also relatively easily get a French mortgage.
Can you now still?
As far as I'm aware, yeah.
Right.
As far as I'm aware. I'm sure someone will tell me different.
Well, that's it. So if you can, then that's really interesting, because I got on this house when I first, well, many years ago now, I was in a regular job in England, and I actually did get a French mortgage,
Yeah, me too.
and it wasn't a lot, but it was, and I wouldn't say it was easy. I reckon the procedure to go through was actually harder than getting a UK mortgage for sure, because if you think about it, I wasn't credit resident in France, but the criteria is more strict anyway. So you can't have any outgoings or loans, which is more than, I'm going to say 30%.
Yeah, I think you're right there. Yeah, I think you're right.
Something like that.
I have to say that I found it relatively easy, but then I had a really good chap in Britline, which is a subsidiary of Credit Agricole, which is one of the big
Yeah, I
banks.
know one. Yeah.
And there was a guy who worked there that he just did everything for me basically, and I think he felt sorry for me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know when you bought your first one, but mine was probably 2010.
14, 15, I think.
Mine was 2010, and
Right.
it was absolute nightmare. They got to the point where I was, at the time, I was renting a room in England. I didn't even rent a house or have a house in England. I was renting a room, and they wanted a bank statement of my landlord to prove that I paid, I don't know, back then it was about £200 a month for a room.
I know it's.
I was like, he's not going to
No,
give me that.
at the time it was paperwork heavy, wasn't it? It was.
It's
You
massive.
needed to prove everything with a bit of paper.
I mean, if you hit someone with the amount of paper that you have, you'd probably kill them. It was insane.
I've got a folder over there in that bookcase there. It's all the paperwork from the first purchase of the first house.
That's never going to fall over, is it?
And it is. You know, one of those big box files. It's overflowing from that, so it's the paperwork is probably 3 inches thick.
Up until when I didn't have a mortgage anymore, every year they would send me an envelope this thick, saying, we've changed the interest rate by 0.0001%. This is the rest of your payments for the rest of the entire term that you've got it. And then
until the sun turns into a white dwarf.
The same thing. And I was like, for about €5 difference. And I was like, oh, wow, they love their paperwork. And that's one thing you've got to get used to. You buy a house in France. Anyway, look, we need to get into these properties, but I don't know how we're going to do it. So what do you reckon? Do you want to go and tell me what we can get?
Yeah. I'm happy to go first. Yeah. All right. So what I was going to do was direct you to the Leggetts website. I'll give you the reference number for the property.
Good skills.
So if you want to dash off and get a bit of paper and a pencil, there's that story in there about the space race between the Russians and the US.
That's going to be about the pen and the
in the 60s. So NASA at the time, I think they spent like $1 million developing a ballpoint pen that could write upside down and in a vacuum. And I was really proud of this pen that could do all these things. And the Russians used a pencil. Brilliant. Anyway, so if you like to dash off and get a pencil, just press pause. And okay, press pause. So we'll assume you're back now with a pen and a bit of paper. So let's put your bins on so I can see what I'm doing. Oh, hello. So the first one.
That's the effect I have on most people. Go on, carry on.
The first one, okay. So this is the reference number. It's A for Apple, 31874. W for
whiskey.
There you go. V for Victor, 87. So that's a house in Champsac. I think that's probably pronounced Champsac. In
I
Hope
can tell you one thing. That's not how they pronounce it.
probably.
It doesn't matter what you come up with. They don't pronounce it like it.
Anyway,
Go
it's in the Haute Vienne Limousin.
on. Nice.
99,000 euros, which equates on the Leggett website to 82,524. It's got 4 rooms, 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, 90 square meters of floor on a plot of 1,022 square meters. So there's 4,000 square meters to an acre. So it's not a huge plot, but it's good enough. So it says it's a lovely 3-bedroom turnkey home with separate workshop storage, good sized garden, close to amenities. Semi-detached. It's on the edge of a small hamlet. It's ready to move into. Cozy veranda is accessible from the living room area. The garden is 1,000 square meters. South facing, with grass and mature trees and shrubs. Double glazed mains drains, which is something to be aware of.
That's a big thing, yeah.
That's a big thing, yeah. Mains drains. We'll go into that a bit later, I think. For heating, there is a wood pellet burner and electric radiators. So that would normally be a wood pellet burner for downstairs and electric radiators upstairs.
Yeah.
There's a separate building that accommodates a workshop and storage on the ground floor and is open on 2 sides on the top floor. So it's your typical French house.
If you could equate that then to something you would buy in England, so by that I mean like semi-detached or detached townhouse or house in the country, how would you describe that one?
Yeah, so it wouldn't look out of place in Kent or maybe in Yorkshire. Obviously, there'd be 2 ends of the cost envelope.
So it's fully detached then in its own
Semi-detached.
Semi-detached, right?
Semi-detached, yeah. But it's got lovely shutters on all the doors and windows. So we'll look through the pictures. It's got a nice range cooker. Kitchen, the 1950s called and said they want the kitchen back.
Yeah.
But that's, for the money.
Usual,
yeah. Big open top, nice big bedrooms. Wooden ceiling with exposed beams.
So I'm going to speak French then. The location of that, where's that in France then? So we're looking at sort of southwest France.
Yeah, Haute Vienne. The Limousin is. I'm sorry, Gary, if you're watching this. It's not me, but the Limousin has a reputation for being quite rainy. It's very green, and it's a reason for that. It's because it rains a fair bit there. You get seasons there.
That's interesting because quite a lot of people do want to have seasons. So if you buy in, I don't know, I guess Nice or somewhere around there, you don't really get the main seasons that we would get in where we do.
More of a Mediterranean sort of affair there, isn't it? And I will come to that actually. You'll find that, as with the exception of Paris and the surrounding area, which you'll go into at some point, I'm sure, as you come down the country, you get to central France. France is huge, isn't it?
Oh, mate.
France is it's just massive. But in general, as you come down south of Paris, and prices tend to go up, and as you go towards the sea on the Atlantic coast, prices tend to go up slightly. As you get real close to the sea, they go up. And the closer you get to the Mediterranean, the prices go up quite steeply, which I'll demonstrate in a moment.
So this particular house then sounds like an average size house. You can, I mean, that 99,000. So you could move straight into that.
Absolutely, yeah, you could move straight into it. It's got a nice conservatory you could sit out, and yeah, it's lovely.
So is that
Nice
a
bit of garden.
village location, or is it on its own in the
I
country?
think it's in a hamlet. The fact that it's got mains drains tells you that it's not far from civilization.
It's not going to be a hamlet then. It probably might be edge of village kind of scenario.
Well, it does say property sits on the edge of a small hamlet. So I'm guessing that the small hamlet is real close to the village.
That's really good, and that's another thing to think of when you're buying a house, how close you are to amenities. Like if you can walk to a shop or walk to a bar, that's a big plus.
Yeah, someone said to us once actually, because when we was looking, for a place down in Charente, I was saying we must be able to walk to a supermarket. And then someone said to us, how many times are you going to walk to a supermarket to buy enough shopping and then walk home carrying it? No. It's never going to happen, is it? So it's that sort of must live next to Leclerc,
No. It's not. Yeah, I don't mean that. It's like where I am. I can walk up the end of the street and there's a bar. It's also got a pizza place.
I think that says a lot more about you, Andy, than.
Yeah, probably.
Anything really.
Maybe. But no, just being.
I don't know what you mean.
It's for those people who want to socialise with French people.
Yes.
If you have a bar that is within walking distance of where you buy your house,
yeah,
there's more likelihood of you just wandering up there and interacting with the locals, and you will learn so much more by just speaking to them than you will in any French lesson.
Definitely.
And you can just do that whenever you want. You can just get home, you think, you know what, I'll just walk up there. You don't need to get in a car. You don't need to drive miles. You can just walk up there. That's a big plus for me, anyway.
Yeah. So moving on to the next property, also on Leggetts, the reference is A31, that's A for Alpha 3129 3TS M for Mother 16. So and it's a house in Essay, which is literally down the road from us. There's a fantastic restaurant there called L'Estaminet. Who's that saying? 3 bedrooms, 1 bath. Floor space is 104 square meters, which is a good sized house. Our converted barn up in Normandy was 96 square meters. So that's as much as you'll need. Very small, or relatively small plot of 546 square meters. Also,
that's a small garden.
Yes, it is.
That is a small garden.
Yeah, it's a courtyard, really, I think. But I'll just.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's 99,000. Also, 82,524 pounds. So this is also semi-detached, and it's a 3-bed house in a village centre with a small garden.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's a really nice house for the money. It has got a bit of a garden, actually. Just looking at the pictures here, it has got a bit of a garden as it happens.
Well, that would be more like a garden we would expect in Britain. So
yes.
I probably had a garden which I was quite happy with when I lived in England. I had an end of terrace house, and the garden must have been 15 meters by 5 meters. That's it.
Yeah.
And it was still a pain in the backside to cut the grass every Saturday.
Exposed beams, nice bathroom, UK sized garden. You're right, actually. That's quite a good description. UK sized garden, and yeah, definitely worth a look, that one. Just moving on to what we talked about just now. As you go further down the country.
So just to give people who are listening insight into this, if you looked at a map of France, you're probably down the southwest quarter.
As Robbie on Escape to France Charente, thinking description. as he says, we're at the top of the south. We're at the top of southwest France.
So if you carried on below that, you would get to the Pyrenees, I guess.
Eventually, yeah, eventually. So there's a department called Languedoc-Roussillon, which is, I don't want to say cheaper, but it's the more affordable side of Provence.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got everything that you would want from Provence without the price tag. So
that's interesting, yeah, because a lot of people look for what they can get like south of France wise without paying the massive price tag of Nice or wherever.
Yeah. So one of our subscribers, Glenn, he's just bought a well, I say just he's had a townhouse there for about a year, 18 months, I suppose. Could be 2 years. I've seen some pictures of it. Beautiful place, and I think it's in a Bastide town, so it's beautiful. Anyway,
well, carry on.
Yeah, I'll digress. So so this is the property reference. Nice simple one. Alpha 14846. Also on Leggetts. So that's Alpha 14846. Come in, your time's up. It's a house in Saint Denis, in Aude, which is in the Languedoc-Roussillon department. Now this will demonstrate the difference in what you would get for your money. Although I have to say this is a bargain, and it's since putting this onto the list. I came to do my preparation this evening, and it's just gone under offer.
Yeah, of course,
and I can see why. I can see it, but it will still be available to look at until it's actually sold. So it's 6 rooms, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. It's 124 square meters, and it was at 75,000 euros, and it was reduced to 69,000 euros.
Wow. Yeah.
From the front, you've got the door and 6 windows.
6, yeah.
So it shows you the size of it, 124 square meters. But it's a renovation project that you could live in.
I reckon most of these ones we're going to say are going to probably need work to some extent.
Yeah, definitely. So it's described as a great living space overlooking an attractive village square with trees and a fountain. Carcassonne is actually, that should be Carcassonne because it's got an E on the end. Carcassonne is only 20 minutes away with an airport and train station. Large house in the square of a typical small village in the Aude. Has a grand facade with. That's interesting, isn't it? That it's a crossover between French and English. A facade. With large windows overlooking the square. Inside, the house is full of quirky original features. And then in big letters, renovation project.
Yeah.
Upon entry into the house, you find a large dining room, and to the right is the living room. On the ground floor, there are also a WC and laundry room. There's an attic. Furniture is included in the sale. The house is in need of work, a renovator's dream. Needs modernisation and renovation throughout. Although, I have to say, you could move in tomorrow and live there quite happily. In the south of France for 69,000 euros.
Yeah.
Which is 57,000 pounds. And I'm sure the fact that the people, the vendors reduced it 6,000 euros to start with, I'm sure if the buyers had the Chris Voss book in their hands, they'd probably get it for about 45,000.
Do you know what? I mean, you're describing houses, but people listening to this, they can buy a new life in south of France for these pennies, if you
Yeah,
see what I'm saying. This
yeah,
money.
yeah. And this is proper in the south of France. Carcassonne is a
Yeah,
beautiful place. It's a
but it's
beautiful
bloody
place.
hot
It
in the
is.
summer. But it's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, but
But
it's good. I mean, you are bang in the center of all those films you've ever seen with south of France.
yeah,
That's what you expect there. Yeah,
yeah.
it's really good.
You'd be walking around the streets with Perry Como playing in your ear holes.
So, what else you got for me, or is that?
Well, that time's getting on, so I wanted to give you a chance, but that was just a selection of
Yeah,
central France, if you like, or the north of the south of France, if you like, and right
yeah.
down in the south of France.
No.
But I mean, that last one is the bargain of the century. That is
Oh, mate, yeah, it sounds amazing.
at 69,000. I'm sure that the people that bought it probably paid 65,000. I would guess for
Probably.
that.
Maybe less.
Could well be less. Could well be less. The only downside of it is that there's no outside space, so there's no garden. But you're in the centre of a village overlooking the square.
There's a lot to be said about that because if it's a lock up and leave, the less garden you've got, the better.
Yeah, and it's got. I'm just looking at pictures of the upstairs rooms, and it's got Townhouse tiles all the way through, and it's a beautiful house. People that have bought it are very lucky. Yeah, so that's my input. So, what can you tell me about the north of France? Obviously, it's closer to the UK.
Yeah, I mean, okay. What I'm looking at now is the central north part, Indre et Loire, Centre Val de Loire. You can get a how to describe this? Right, so it's half of an old dairy. Okay. So if you imagine a massive courtyard, half the courtyard, which would account to maybe 2 houses the same size as mine, so probably 300 square meters in total, to renovate will cost you 100,000 euros, and that's on a plot of 1,000 square meters as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a complete renovation, so all the windows need replacing, all the internals, absolutely everything, probably the roof. But when it's done, you could turn it into a massive gîte complex. You could probably get maybe 4 gîtes in there.
So, what sort of figure would you put on for the total renovation if you was to do some of it yourself and to get artisans?
You're going to have to double that.
I was going to say 100,000. Yeah, I was going to say 150,000 with all the furnishings and that.
Well, so, you would have a self-sustaining easily where it is. You'd have a self-sustaining gîte complex, which would pay quite a lot of money in the future. But you could. I mean, there's a couple of rooms that are livable. The rest really needs sorting out, but it's a project from scratch, and that's on Leggetts as well.
Have you got a reference number for that?
I have, yeah. A27783 Mike Echo Delta 37. So that's in central north area. I found a really nice house in Brittany, actually. 2-bedroom, 1 bathroom. The plot's only 380 square meters, and the floor area is not much, but it's lovely. It's like a nice little French cottage. You don't need to do much to it. You could move in tomorrow, and everything is there. You've got a couple of guest bedrooms. Got nice bathrooms and an attached barn where you could park a car or have a workshop. You could lock this up and leave, no problems whatsoever. It's really, really nice in Brittany, and that's right in the north of Brittany as well.
Right by the coast.
Yeah, really lovely.
Mm.
Looks superb, to be honest. You could buy that and not do anything to it for another 5 or 6 years, still enjoy it as a holiday home, and that's 99,000 euros.
It's interesting to compare the what you get for a renovation project and for a move in.
Big difference, yeah.
Yeah. So is there a reference number for that one also?
Yep, A28835 Juliet Romeo Delta 22. That might suit somebody. So I actually had a look at Pays de Loire, where you used to live, but interesting about that, like you said,
it's massive, isn't it? Enormous, yeah.
It's one of the biggest departments I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, Graham,
crazy.
Who lives in the Vendée. He doesn't live there. His house is in the Vendée. He's still in Pays de Loire, and I drive west from here to get to his house, and it's still in the Pays de Loire.
Yep, it's just a massive department. How can I describe this? So, 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom, small house, but it's beautiful. It's like a little cottage. Everything's been done. There's wisteria across the front. It looks absolutely lovely, with wood burner in the living room, a nice little garden you can tinker around with, black and white square tiles in the kitchen, on the floor. It looks lovely. Upstairs, the bedroom, it's got oak beams, vaulted ceiling, doesn't need anything doing to it. Really, really nice. 99,000, and that's in the Vendée. So the weather there is way better than Brittany. It's like really good weather. So you could buy. There's a garage attached as well. It's really cute little cottage. It's lovely. So I've got a reference for that as well. A26672 Foxtrot Bravo Uniform 85. And so in the Vendée, where you get really nice weather, it's in the Pays de Loire. That's a perfect lock up and leave. So the one thing I want to say is, I've got one in Normandy, but time's running on, so I'm going to skip over that because it's pretty good. But if you want value for money, go to the Grand Est towards Luxembourg and Germany. My God, you can get so much more for your money. I am looking currently at a house of 120 square meters.
Right.
And you look inside, and it looks like some kind of chateau. I just never seen anything like it for the money, and lots to do, lots to renovate outside, but inside the rooms are just huge, like massive. And this is 120 square meters for 75,000 euros.
That's crazy, isn't it? Is there a reference number for that one, Andy?
There is actually. I'm trying to find it now. No, actually, because it's on. Now, this is funny because I put in Grand Est on Leggetts and there's nothing. Oh,
really? That's interesting. I wonder why.
I don't know, but this is on, I don't even, IAD Immobilier. And it's in a place called Levécourt 52150. And it's insane. The reference on IAD website is 1622019. And it says, wait for this, Not only is it that, the surface de terrain is 11,993 square meters.
Yeah. Well, that's not a property. That's the grounds. Yeah. Because we got 12,000. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's 3 acres.
75,000 euros.
That's crazy, isn't it?
So,
although, just looking at that reference number that you just quoted there, I wonder whether that is property number 162 from 2019.
could be.
I bet it
Could
is.
be.
You know? I bet that's been for sale for 5 years rather.
But I've looked at several. I know time's going on, but I've looked at several in the Grand Est. Mate, that's where the value for money is.
Yeah. How do you spell that Grand Est? It's Grand West, isn't it? So is that the OE?
No, Grand East.
Yeah.
EST. Grand Est.
Okay.
Yeah. Towards Germany, basically.
Yeah.
Strasbourg, around that area.
Yeah.
But this is just insane, the amount you can get for your money there. It's
Yeah, I mean,
similar. I looked at quickly. I looked at one in Normandy, and you can get 8 rooms, 6 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 99,000 in Normandy as well.
Yeah.
But that no garden, but it's a townhouse, but perfect for a little B&B, and it's actually very, very livable. It looks quite nice actually.
Yeah.
I'll give you a quick Leggett reference number on that, and that's in that's Alpha 2828 for Bravo Sierra 50, and that's in Normandy in the Manche, so that's quite north. But that's perfect for a B&B. Is that 8 rooms, 6 bedrooms?
Yeah.
All for under 100 grand. So
I think there's a if you've
sorry.
I think if you've it's goodbye from him. I think if you've sort of got a feeling that you're going to buy a house in France, I think your first step is to decide where, isn't it? And the practicalities of getting there. If it's a holiday home, especially, the practicalities of getting there. You know, the how you're going to get there, how you're going to get home.
Yeah.
Where you live in, certainly where you live in the UK.
Or elsewhere.
Or elsewhere. Just the practicalities of it. It's all right buying that place down in Ord in the south of France, but if you're considering having a weekend there, and you live in Edinburgh,
how are you going to do that?
Or Inverness, how are you supposed to do that?
So you've got a very good point, and travel is a massive part of this. I know it's not really strictly what we're talking about, but if you can ensure that there's 2 ways of getting to your destination. So for most British people, Americans and Australians, you've got no choice really. But for most British people, if you can get the ferry and drive there within a day, or you can get a plane there and fly there cheaply, you've got 2 options. Or you can get the train, for example. So where I am, just south of Rennes, I can actually go to Rennes on my local station, which I can walk to, goes to Rennes. I can get the train from Rennes to London. So it goes to Paris, changes, and then goes to London on the high speed. I can get a plane from Rennes to London or Nantes to London. I can then drive an hour north and get the ferry from St. Malo to England, or an hour and a half to Caen, or maybe 2 hours to Caen, and get the ferry from there. So really well served by train, by transport links, if that's your thing. But if you're moving here permanently, like you, don't consider that. Don't let that influence your decision. I would buy the house that you want, as opposed to how easy it is to get back to the UK, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Because if your long-term plan is to move to France, and you might be having the house as a holiday home for a couple of years, 3 years till you retire. I would say what you just said, that to buy the house that you want where you want it, rather than the house that's easy to get to, because you save yourself a lot of money in the long
for
run.
sure, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Find a house you like and just go for it.
Yeah.
Above all, I'll reiterate what you say most times: just do it. Life is too short.
Oh my God, just yeah.
Before you know it, it's over.
That's it.
So,
Then it's around the
do what you
corner.
want to.
Yeah, I mean that house down in Ord, for your was it 69,000, wasn't it? That's to be able to live in the south of France, for that sort of money.
Oh, I've got one last thing. I did check because it's in the north. Let me see if I can find this. 1 second. I looked in Paris.
I was going to say to you, actually, it's funny enough. I was going to say to you, because when we talked about this subject and doing the research for it, we did talk about Paris, because it's like any city. You're going to be paying a massive premium for
I
for
found a
the centre of Paris.
cheeky little property for under 100 grand, actually.
Yeah.
I did. All I can say is located 130 meters from Saint Antoine Hospital, 1 kilometer from Gare de Lyon train station, and 100 meters from Chaligny Metro.
Okay.
And the size is reasonable for what it is, and plenty of pictures, and it's 37,000 euros.
Right, that's mad, isn't it?
And it's a parking space.
It's a parking space.
That's it. That's the only thing I could find under 100 grand in Paris.
Thank you very much. We're all week. Don't forget to tip your waitress on the way out.
You can't. It's like London. You can't get nothing. God, I think the cheapest was just under 200,000 for some studio nonsense. Like London, basically.
Yeah.
It's not for me anyway. So it's quite funny.
That's funny.
But no, there's nothing under 100 grand.
That's funny.
Anyway.
So I mean, there's a wide selection of properties there. I think what we do is put all those reference numbers in the description,
if we can remember yet.
Yeah, and we'll do our best anyway. And it'd be interesting to hear what people think about it, actually.
Yeah.
Because as I say, most people that would watch this would be interested in French property. So I think they would be looking at those properties, and that would give them a wide range of areas and prices to think about. Yeah,
definitely. I think above all, go and see it. I mean, there was a guy. So going on tangent here. So when I was looking for my other house to do I actually went further south, and I went really far south.
Yeah, we did too.
And I found this house, which was in the middle of a village, and the guy said it's already been sold once to a Scottish couple who bought it without seeing it. And I was like, okay, so they haven't bought it now. No, they couldn't get a mortgage. And I was like, okay. So it was an old B&B, and it was all right. I mean, the house was okay, but it wasn't worth what they were asking for it. Anyway, the funny thing is, I was walking down the halls and I was touching the walls and banging them, thinking, that's not plasterboard and it's not brick. So I just came straight out with it and said, are these asbestos walls? And the guy went, yeah. I went, well, I'm not buying it, because the whole place, 4 floors, is asbestos walls. What am I going to do with that?
Well, it won't burn down. I don't know what the problem is.
the funny thing is, somebody had tried to buy this from Scotland, and the only reason they didn't buy it is because they couldn't get the loan, not because
That's terrifying.
they
Isn't it?
don't do they don't do surveys or anything. So they would have ended up with a house full of asbestos.
Lungs are overrated
Go
anyway.
and see it. Whatever it costs, go and see it. Don't buy it on plan.
Oh god, yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I remember the reason that I highlighted that place in Ord was because we went to a place in Ord called Immo to look at some properties when we was looking to move south. And this place was on the side of a hill, like quite a steep hill. It's like a little hamlet sort of on the side of a hill, and it was a sous-sol, which means that it's got it's like an upside down house. So you got the basement above the ground, then you got the living areas on like the first floor, if you like. Anyway, so the lady had renovated the bottom basement area into rooms and like a beauty salon and that. And anyway, so we're walking around, and I'm thinking, blimey, that hill's a bit steep, isn't it? And this was nice. It wasn't bad. Anyway, when we walked around the back of the house, there's a massive crack running right across the entire width of the house. So you could put your fist in it.
Oh no. Oh.
Yeah. And anyway, we're talking away, and I'll keep looking at this. We're talking away, and I said, "Is anybody going to talk about the big crack in the wall, or is it just me seeing it?" I went, "Oh yeah, we had an earthquake, but the lady will have that filled in before you buy the house."
Filled in.
Yeah. Let's just put some filler in that massive crack that runs the entire length of the house, and we won't talk about it. Yeah.
Crikey. Oh.
You never know, do you?
No.
Horror stories.
Oh, there's plenty of them. We could do an episode on that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, I guess time is really getting on now. So that was interesting. What's available?
Yep.
We did it so that you could listen to this, and if you want to go back and look, then you can look. We did consider putting pictures up, but most people listen to this, so
that'll be frustrating for that'll be frustrating for people that listen.
So you can go back, look in the description, and find the reference numbers and or links, or just listen back to us and then put your reference numbers in Leggetts.
Yeah.
It's mostly Leggetts, but with one for the grandest that wasn't. So you can use those reference numbers and pop them in there, no problems, and have a look at what we're talking about, and you can see what's available.
Sure. Good. I think we've said this before, but if there's any subjects that you'd like us to talk about, or any subjects that you'd like us to cover, we'll be more than happy to do that. I'm sure we'll go off at a tangent at some point and talk cobblers, but there you go.
It's never happened before, so I don't know.
All right. So thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give the video a thumbs up. And if you'd like to share it on your socials, press the notification bell so that you know when there's new content. And maybe think about subscribing if you're not subscribed already. We're in the heady figures of, I think, 241 subscribers.
No way.
So, Mr.
Thank you very much.
Look out. And thank you so much for watching, as I say, or listening. So all that leaves to say is it's goodbye from me.
Goodbye from him.
Bye.